Welcome back to Bust Picks. It is episode 67. My name is Dio Reynoso. That is Donovan Behan.
How we doing?
Dude, it's been a long week here in Los Angeles, but we're getting through it, and it's a fun time, and we're here to talk about sports, Don.
Yeah, what keeps us going.
What is your fact of the day today?
Fact of the day, we did have the Stanley Cup finish up. Did you know the Panthers are now the second team in NHL history to have 3+ players finish with 5+ goals to win the Cup? First time since the 1995 Detroit Red Wings.
Wow, so they're like in history of being one of the best teams.
This team this season is up there in a lot of records right now.
What about in back-to-back, like modern era? This is one of like the more impressive teams?
Yeah, I think and a big reason I think was their depth.
Yeah.
Like it is a very strong team.
We're going to talk about that game later during some other segments, but right now we're going to get straight into a massive trade that happened in the MLB a few days ago. Rafael Devers? Yes, getting traded to the San Francisco Giants. Shout out to the Giants. Don, what happened?
Red Sox dealt him, like you said, to the Giants. Giants are sending back pitchers Jordan Hicks, Kyle Henderson, and outfielder James Tibbs. Their 4 prospect and their 13th overall pick from last year. And 20-year-old reliever Jose Bellio, all to Boston for Devers. Devers, 3-time All-Star, currently playing DH, raised a lot of eyebrows in this trade.
Yeah, a lot of people were a little upset. A lot of people were looking for any reason to talk about this thing. I have a couple notes on it.
Sure.
The first thing I wanted to talk about was it feels like this was Rafael's kind of being sick of the franchise, kind of being sick of Boston kind of being complacent these past 5 years, not really trying to muster up a super talented roster in a division that's very competitive. It feels like they're an organization that never really takes a step or really opens up their pocketbook like they did in the past.
Yeah, not in recent years.
And Devers not wanting to make the position change and apparently asking for a trade during spring ball or
so there was a couple different instances
ball?
there. First off, he's now the only player to be traded before his 3rd season starts that has been signed to an over 10-year deal. No one else in MLB history has been traded this early on that long of a contract.
A big 10-year contract.
Yeah, there's 2 that were signed that were traded in their 3rd years, the big one being A-Rod.
Yeah, it's kind of almost impossible to ever hear of like a really solidified player getting traded like in the prime of their career.
And I think the big reason was there was a lot of organizational dysfunction. I think there's a couple reasons for it. There's, first off, the GM and Devers had a lot of beef.
Yes.
That was a big thing that was coming into it. I know Alex Cora, like the manager, was asked about it during Winter Ball originally. And asking about Cora's comments, he was saying, what was it? It's like, I don't know. I asked about Devers moving off third base during winter meetings. Cora said, I don't know where that comes from. I haven't talked to Rafi about it. I've never talked to his agent about it. People talk about his defense. Actually, I thought throughout the year he did an outstanding job. And I guarantee you we haven't had those conversations.
Which was just a flat-out lie at this point.
So now we know that's a flat-out lie.
Yeah.
During that time, the reason he mentioned the defense was there's a lot of Boston media, a few reported leaks from inside the Red Sox organization commenting that it would be better to get Rafi off the third base, get him into a DH role, especially during that time. Alex Bregman was in conversations to be signed. Cora doubled down a few weeks after that statement saying, Devers is our third baseman. I always envision Alex as a Gold Glove second baseman. And even when he was signed, they were saying that Bregman would be a second baseman. 2 days after Bregman was signed, that's when they forced. That's when they officially reported Bregman's going to be their third baseman, and we're forcing Rafi into the DH.
And I think that's probably where the relationship started to take a huge hit.
Exactly.
And I think it's just slowly spiraled on to a point where Boston was clearly saying, we need to move off this guy quickly.
Yeah.
What's the best package we can get? I don't feel like this is the best package they could have gotten.
No, they definitely, but there's only a few teams that would take this size of a contract.
It's a huge contract.
Massive contract,
and
8-year commitment.
Kind of whiffed this offseason on signing like the huge player that they thought they were going to be able to get in the market for. And now they get Devers, who's a top, 20 player in the MLB?
Yeah, he's top 5 in hitting right now, hitting
Yeah.
stats this season. Like, he is a 3-time All-Star. Like, the guy's amazing.
And now he's saying he's willing to, like, change positions with
Well,
this
a
team.
big part of that was, like, just him being petty. Like, you
Yeah,
could clearly
I mean-
tell. Like, there was, because after the Bregman issue, he did hold out for a week or two, finally converted to DH, excelled in the DH role, which is a very tough mental role because you don't get that break of fielding. You're just always thinking about the next at
Oh,
bat.
100%. You're locked in, and the team is depending on you to be an anchor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then so early in the season, we know that Tristan Casas blew out his knee, essentially. Like,
Yeah.
he severely injured, out for the season. And Massive Line was reporting that he was being requested to move to first base now. Mm-hmm. And Devers openly just said, he goes, I don't think they'll stay true to their word. They told me I was going to be playing a position, DH, and now they're going back on that. So, yeah, I don't think that this team can stay true to their word. Called out GM Barlow later into it, saying that Barlow just was disrespecting him a lot. Said, hey, you're a player. You should just play, to his face. And Rafi was basically openly talking like, hey, you're a GM. Fill the gap in your roster then.
What side do you take on this? Do you feel bad for Boston? Are you like,
No,
man,
Boston-
Rafi had a point? Like,
I think Rafi had a point. Like, if you're signing a hometown kid
yeah,
to a long-term deal, he's the best player on your team. You're locking him up long-term.
trading him on a third year of a
On a
10-year
second year.
second year of a 10-year contract is insane.
It's insane, and that tells me the relationship was not salvageable. If you're planning on this kind of move, that kind of contract, and you're foreseeing, hey, we might move you around, wouldn't you want to build your roster around this guy and talk to him? Have those conversations before the contract is signed?
It feels like in baseball right now there is a big market for trading superstars. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, but Boston is a massive market.
Yes.
It feels like they're actively trying to get like production off their books.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
really-
that is something they've done. They've sent away now Sale, Mookie Betts, Xander Bogart, all in the last 5 years, and now they're sending Rafi away.
Yeah.
That is 4 of their top stars, homegrown talents, that they have dealt.
How do you
in
pitch
5
that
years.
to a fan base that just consistently gets excited over their star player and then gone?
You don't.
Gone to the West Coast. Boom.
And
just
that's
gone.
an issue with Barlow coming in as GM. Reportedly, the front office is just in chaos. They have gone and fired a lot of staff. They fired away scouts who've been there for over like almost 7 years, 8 years now.
No bueno.
Just dealing them out, which Boston scouts well.
No,
that's not an issue for the team.
And they have fans, and they're not like the worst fans. They're
No.
not the best fans, but they're intense. They care about their baseball teams.
Yeah.
Boston has been a successful franchise over the past 25 years. It's been kind of shocking to see them revert back into like this more pedestrian like baseball life when I
Yeah.
feel like they should be rivaling what the Cubs are doing and like what the Yankees are doing and what they should be doing.
That is the interesting part. Well, I mean, Red Sox swept the Yankees last weekend. And the
Yeah.
biggest news story that broke was the Devers trade. No one's even talking about that.
I mean,
which
yeah,
I think
shout
is
out to the Yankees for getting away with that.
Yeah, they got
PR.
away with that.
Yeah.
Barlow was the head of pitching staff for the Cubs before they dealt him. He was there for 3 years, worked his way up in the organization, and then they got rid of him 2 years in 2022, 2023. So Barlow had, like, when you're saying they need to do what the Cubs are doing, the Cubs moved off this guy for a reason to build the roster that they have today.
They have a really good roster.
They have a very strong roster now. And I think a big issue is the current ownership group is kind of allowing a lot of this, is dealing a lot of this issues.
You were telling me about this earlier. You really don't like this ownership group.
Yeah, it's Fenway Sports Group.
Now, how much of it is because LeBron James is
I didn't even know, until you told me, I didn't know LeBron was involved in this.
You also don't need a Blaze Pizza because LeBron James owns it.
I thought Shaq owned that one.
No.
Oh, okay.
He owns Pyology.
Oh, he owns Pyology. I knew it was one of those
learn
custom
your
ones.
NBA pizza ownership groups, man.
But no,
Figure it out.
Fenway has a reputation of this right now where since they've taken over, they've dealt away all the Red Sox stars, purposely moved their salary below the luxury tax, trying to minimize any kind of long-term deal. I think Bregman has one of the biggest deals on the roster now, and he has an opt-out at the end of the season. They purposely made his contract as a 3-year deal. He has an opt-out at the end of this season and an opt-out at the end of the next season.
Oh, wow.
Bregman is just like, they just said, hey, we don't
They have no
think you're going to
control
be
over
here.
Bregman's contract.
No, they don't think he's going to
Yeah.
be there long term. This was a patch fix to keep the team kind of competitive. It reads to me.
Yeah.
They also own the Pittsburgh Penguins in the NHL, which the Penguins missed the playoffs, did not do well this season. There's reports that they're going to try to sell the team right now. When Fenway came in, they fired off over 15 to 20 front office staff, not associated with the team in terms of talent, but we're talking like HR reps, we're talking social media coordinators, anybody who was locally based that worked in the front office, they fired to outsource immediately.
New boss, they brought in their own people.
No, they didn't they outsourced everything. Social media managers for the team are no longer based in Pittsburgh.
That's wrong.
That's the issue.
It feels like that should be part of the team and the culture of
that
the
was
city.
a big thing. And even Liverpool, when they also own Liverpool, and that was a big conversation that a lot of these former staffers are talking, and reports are leaking out about this organization group is they fire anybody who's local, who's a diehard team, to bring in people that are loyal to the organization, not to the team itself, but to Fenway.
This is making me a little worried about LeBron's next step in his career of becoming an owner of an NBA franchise and being the GM.
He's going to sanitize it.
I'm a little scared. I'll say that. It has the Lakers stuff opened up my eyes a little bit more too. Yeah, a little.
Yeah, but you're really seeing it.
It is scary a little.
It is. And also with Fenway now with the Liverpool, they did go and win the Champions League after being terrible for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And signed their midfielder, Wirtz, German name. I'm not going to attempt the rest of it.
He's German. He doesn't even care.
They signed him to a $118 million deal over the next couple seasons.
That's incredible.
2 days later, there's reports that they might trade him. And it seems like this team is infatuated with getting the crowd excited, getting people talking, and then dealing stars to keep payroll low. They just came off a Champions League. They're selling away their best player immediately. Like that's what the rumors are right now.
You feel like this is an ownership
I think
problem.
This is an ownership problem. I think Barlow for the Red Sox is a personal issue. He sounds like an a-hole to the roster. What is being like a lot of the front office staff are saying it's in complete disarray. It's a joke. No one is taking the team seriously anymore. Like it's just completely off the rails. And I think that starts from the ownership group and is now trickling down to the rest of all these organizations.
Where we stand right now, they are 38 and 36.
Yeah, they finished I think last year 81 and 81. So they're right on track to do the exact same thing.
If I gave you the odds, you're confident enough to say right now they are in the last wild card spot.
I think they fall out of that.
Do you think at the end of the year we're talking about this Boston team is sneaking into the wild card spot?
I think they're going to stay floating around it. This team, like they clearly have signaled that they're fine just being in the wild card conversation.
Yeah,
they're entitled to me. What Fenway has done based on what they did with Pittsburgh, what they're now reportedly maybe doing with like what's rumored that they may do with Liverpool.
They're becoming the Chicago Bulls. They just want to get in the play-in.
I don't even know Chicago. I was going to say Steelers. They're fine just going like average.
The fans are not fine with that.
No, fans and especially Boston fans.
I am fine with it because I'm in the AFC and I don't need more good teams.
Yeah.
But I like them being
good.
But
that's what it sounds like this entire group is doing is they want to come in, cut costs to make it look like revenue explodes, make the team somewhat competitive, and then try to sell it as fast as possible.
Drive up value and then sell the team.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds about right.
That's the entire thing. They're just here to sanitize the sport, and like all the sports are associated with, and Devers got caught up in it.
Sounds like every ownership group to ever exist.
Majority of them, yeah. There's a few that like have done well.
The Commanders one.
Yeah, the Commanders one where they're like, hey, we want to come win. And that's the thing is you want to have an owner who's as bought in to win as everybody else in the front office. Because that, like, the culture starts at the top.
100%.
Yeah, so
the culture starts in the stands, and then it's perpetuated by the front office. But
yes. Like if the owner's not bought in, like think about Buffalo.
It's good. It's also good to not have owners that are super bought in. Sometimes it's good to have owners that hire their guys and they're like,
but that's bought in. Like if you look at Buffalo, the ownership there owns the Sabres in the NHL and the Bills.
Yeah,
they have fully bought into the Buffalo Bills. Like Sean McDermott is allowed to run what he wants to run. GMs are allowed to do what they want. Josh Allen is locked up forever as long as he wants to remain a Bill.
He's in
they are
forever.
fully bought in, and the team is competitive. No one is bought in on the Sabres. They trade away their top value targets. They are selling off their two best players in this offseason. They're already starting trade negotiations before the finals even finish.
I mean, that happens in every sport.
It happens in every sport, but they're a team who's supposed to be in a rebuild, and they're trading away core talent. Not to shed contract, but just they don't think that they have it. And this has been the Buffalo Sabres for the last few years has been a drag. Ownership is not bought in there. He is barely at the facility, reportedly. He spends more time in the Bills than with the Sabres, and that's the result you get.
Yeah, I mean, buying into each... The same thing with the Chicago owner, where he's like more involved in the Bulls than he is the White Sox, but both those teams just suck. Ownership is everything. That's why I'm happy my NFL team is owned by 3 powerful, smart, independent women. Let's move on to the NBA. The Magic had a huge blockbuster trade for
massive.
Desmond Bane. They gave up a couple picks. Don, was this a good move for the Grizzlies? I think it was a fantastic move for the Magic.
Oh, the Magic needed to make a splash.
I think the worst team in the NBA in terms of three-point percentage and three-point shots.
Last season, lowest rate of three-point attempted and the lowest percentage.
Desmond Bane is a pretty good, good three-point shooter.
Bane adds depth. He was second last season in catch-and-shoot percentage, just behind Curry.
He's a starter that's going to be on their team right away. I think the model that the Magic are going after is this Pacers model. I think they clearly think Paolo Banchero has the ability to take that step up, kind of like Tyrese Halliburton did. And they feel like if they can surround the team depth-wise all the way, 9 guys that are good players that have to play meaningful minutes, then they feel like they can make a deep run in Orlando.
No, I 100% think this team definitely can now, but a thing that a lot of people forgot was the injuries coming in for the Magic because of the lack of noise that they had because of the shooting issues. Paulo, Franz, and Suggs only played 97 minutes together all season.
It's
like this is a team that if they get healthy, which it looks they have an entire offseason to do, everyone started coming together towards the end a little bit. They've addressed their biggest flaw on the roster, adding the three-pointer, and they have a young core. A young core who can be there for a few years. They got rid of Caldwell Pope, who only has a couple years left.
Yeah, he's a good 3-and-D player, though.
Yeah, he's a good 3. Yeah, I'm not trying to disrespect Pope, but I'm saying he's not there to build this team over the next 7 years.
Yeah. We flip it over to the other side, the Grizzlies, who are now sitting there, and they're like, all right, we got some picks. Jaren Jackson still in the roster. John Morant, who's been fighting injuries for a couple years, but still a very key player in the NBA.
He's been having to play hero ball week in and week out. Like, it's going to take a toll.
Do you think this leaves the Grizzlies in a better position than they were with Bane?
I think so. They now have the second most first-round picks. They're tied for second most first round picks going forward.
Yeah.
All 6 of them that they own are unprotected completely.
That's fantastic.
That's an amazing spot to be in.
Gives them flexibility to go after really good young players or even cash them in for a huge player.
Exactly. Yeah. And then KCP, I think, is an upgrade over Jalen Wells. Like, yes, KCP's a little bit older, but I think he's better defensively.
He's a good defensive and three-point shooter. He's a fun starter. If not, he's a guy off the bench that you want to give, like, a couple, like 6 shots to a night.
Exactly. And this is so I think that helps them stay relevant for the next little few years as they cash in those picks and build.
It's funny that you talk about cash, and I think a big theme on today is going to be money.
Yeah.
I think this is a huge thing. We've talked about the luxury tax and the second apron a lot for the NBA. If they were to pay Desmond Bane, which he's going to need to get paid next year, that would put them in the apron, which means John Morant, Jaren Jackson, and Desmond Bane would all have to gotten paid. Above it, they would have gotten taxed huge. And for a small market like Memphis, it doesn't exactly feel... And they're not competing in the playoffs constantly. In fact, I think they've only been twice in the past 5 years.
It just doesn't make sense for them to enter that next step financially.
Correct. So I think it was a really good thing for that. As long as they stick to this plan and they build around Ja and Jaren Jackson. If their plan is to trade John Morant, like a lot of ideas are going out there, then please go get all the picks you need and then build with all these future first-round picks that they have at their disposal. They do have a lot of flexibility, but I do think all your picks, trust your system, trust your coaching, and just build within.
Yeah, you could take your time a little bit right now. You don't have to cash everything in at once.
I think the NBA is in a spot right now where, like, dynasties, we're not really seeing dynasties anymore.
No, we're seeing a lot more parity.
But we love that because every year your team
has a shot.
you feel it.
Yes.
And that's the feeling of football. If the NBA can bottle that to make people in Milwaukee feel like, hey, we can win this. Oklahoma City or Indianapolis is about to win a finals. Like, Milwaukee won one a few years ago. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, let's go get one. Chicago's a big city, but
Denver just came off one.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Toronto's had one recently. Like, there's a lot more conversation being had with some of the teams that you wouldn't expect to make it all that way.
So then maybe building for like these long dynasties may be the wrong way to view basketball right now, especially in like this second apron era we're in.
Yeah, I think with the current pay structure for the taxes, it's very difficult unless you got guys like you can build the Warriors-esque where you have a core that not everyone's on a supermax.
Yeah. You just gotta. We're gonna start seeing a lot more like really good players on bad teams, but they got the supermax.
Yeah, that's going to become the more new tradition, essentially.
You got anything else on this one?
I think one interesting tie, and this is going to tie into our next conversation a little bit, is now that the Grizzlies have all these first-round picks to build around, they are considered, like, their odds move dramatically for the Kevin Durant run.
Let's talk about Kevin Durant.
And they're in the conversation that they might get more first-round picks, taking on some, like, if it's a multi-team deal to get Durant off the Suns, they might catch some of the harder salaries to shift in exchange for adding more picks because they're one of the few teams in the league who are in a position to do so.
Yeah, I mean, they could eat a little, like a big salary bite, like a Bradley Beal. If they end up with him for like 2 years, they just eat the contract and like, all right.
And the Suns are probably going to say, hey, if you take this guy, eat the contract, we'll give you 2 first rounds.
They don't have any picks, though.
They don't have any picks to do it, but other teams do.
Yeah, it'd be like you have to give up a lot.
And if that's what it takes, like think about like the team that's the highest percentage right now, according to Vegas odds, to end up with Durant is, I believe, the Heat right now. I think plus Heat, 250.
So I wrote down my top 3 out of the ones that are trending.
Sure.
By the way, these are not the teams I want him to go to, but if I wanted him to go to them, the Spurs would be my number 1 team for him.
They're also tied the Heat, or they're second to the Heat, plus 350 odds.
I like him on the Spurs. Him with Wemby, I think it's a natural.
I think it's immediately a contender team.
Correct. I think with CP3, that they get to stand there and be veterans. Kevin Durant gets to lead a team that's already full of a bunch of stars. Young Jeremy Sochan. They get to keep the 2nd overall pick, and if they don't, then they trade it over the Suns, whatever. They get rid of that, whatever. They still get to keep Castle. They still get to keep all these really good young players around them, surrounding them with veterans. It's a fun, good basketball team.
That's a dangerous team right there.
And you don't have to pay Wembanyama yet until this KD and CP3 are off the books. It kind of feels like a natural win. Also, it does feel really cool to, like, we're going to get to see these 2 really similar like players in Wemby and KD play 1 year together. That'd be amazing.
That'd be a lot of fun, like almost a passing of the torch of like the 7-footer draining threes.
And then you said the Miami Heat are the number 2, or the other team, which are the current favorites?
They're tied for the current favorites.
Gotcha.
Tied with the Rockets right now.
The Heat are my number 2 team for them.
I don't make as much sense to me.
I think just for the plain idea of, like, it makes sense for Kevin Durant to go to Florida to retire. Yeah. That Miami Heat feels like, all right, cool. He's going to go to Miami. He's going to make a little bit of noise. The East is weak enough with, like, Bam Adebayo, and, like, they'll probably lose Tyler Hero, but whatever construction paper team that they end up putting together, like, gets into, like, the 7th or 8th seed and has to play, like, a really good Pacers team next year.
Yeah, I can see that situation playing out. They do have the cap space to go after him, and majority of their picks still. So that I could see that playing out in a way.
He also likes playing in major cities. You like the Rockets, though.
I think the Rockets and the Spurs are going to go the heaviest. Houston in a very similar situation to Miami in terms of contract situations and in terms of pick situations.
I think Houston just has to pay a lot of their young players soon.
Yes, but you can get Durant on just a 2-year rental right now.
Yeah, he's pretty much a 2-year rental, and then the idea of retirement is going to be kicked around the can.
Yeah, he's 37.
Yeah, I mean he's had a couple injuries. He's got a couple miles on him.
Yeah, he has the mileage on him. So I think a 2-year rental just to get you over the hump to go compete.
Yeah,
and especially with a young core makes a lot of sense. That's why I don't like Miami as much, because you're paying just to make noise in like the early playoff round and bounce.
I selfishly don't want the Rockets because I think this young core, I want them to build off of this, and I don't think that they need to go get someone else. I think they just need to consistently get to the playoffs and build that experience like OKC has had to do the past 2 years.
Yeah.
I think you get there, iron sharpens iron. These really good young players just need to play against really, really good players in high competition settings. I really do think this Rockets team can be a championship level roster.
Definitely.
Without Kevin Durant.
And then a couple deep teams that are making a run. I know the Wolves have been mentioned.
He said there's no world I'm playing in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't want to, obviously. He's a major he likes the big cities. He doesn't really have a lot of desire to play in the cold. He's always preferred playing in dry weather.
You got to think about those bones, Dom, when he's wriggling like that. Like, it's got to hurt, man.
I mean, he's got to have some little bit of fat on him eventually. But an interesting thing that's coming out of Jake Fisher, he's an NBA insider, is the Suns have started scouting a lot of players to kind of build this roster back up.
Yeah.
Two of the big names that are being floated as a possible Durant move or move after the Durant trade is Kristaps Porzingis off the Celtics, as well as
they're trying to get off that contract.
They're trying to get off the contract. He still has some offensive capability as long as he stays healthy. You could probably, if they do package up a few of their later round guys, you could keep Tatum and Brown together for a little bit, keep that window open a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Instead of closing it like as everyone thought at the end of the season.
And Jason Tatum's going to take this year off, and you just plug him in with Kevin Durant.
If he could take the season off and come back for playoffs and have...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's a doable thing.
Yeah.
It's a very scary team enter
Very good
playoffs, especially because Porzingis isn't leaving a giant
How the
hole in
hell
this
do you
roster.
pay that team?
I don't know how you pay it, but these guys, there's GMs in this situation for a reason who are a lot smarter than I am when it comes to these financials.
I want to talk about two teams.
Sure.
That I have in my pocket that I would love to go see him play.
Okay.
Kevin Durant's from Washington, D.C.
Yep.
He's from the Maryland area. DMV, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I want to see him play for the Wizards. I think him and Jordan Poole.
That would be the filthiest roster ever.
With Alex Sarr, maybe they trade another few of their picks this year and go get another stud, I don't know, Josh Hart. Go get, I don't know, just add fun players. I do think they can carry this team. They make a bubble performance. It would be awesome to see him retire in his city and give the Washington Wizards a reason to go watch their games besides watching Jordan Poole go minus 500. And then the team that I actually think could happen, I think the Warriors reunion is more alive than people want to give it. I think there's a chance here where the Warriors they haven't lost all their picks. They have some good young players like Kuminga. They have expiring contracts they can get out of Draymond Green. And then you immediately get the reunion. We know how Steph and KD play together.
Draymond's still on the roster for another 4 years.
Yeah, but they can move off of the contract and get someone to eat that salary.
That's true.
And he's a ticket, a big ticket moneymaker, especially in a Phoenix time zone. People are going to come out to go see Draymond Green. People are going to buy Draymond Green jerseys.
It'd be interesting to see how that team
they're not going to be a good team.
No, they're not going to be a good team by any stretch.
But that's kind of a
it's a big enough name that even a casual fan will know it.
I think the Oklahoma City Kevin Durant trade is enticing to a lot of casual fans. I think
that doesn't make sense.
It kind of does if they lose this finals.
If they lose this finals, then but I don't know why you would take that big of a swing when you just need to retool. Rather than
I don't even think you need to retool, but
if the roster's there, they have a shot.
A ton of picks and they have a ton of players they have to pay. You can get Kevin Durant back and win home. He would never go back though. I think the Warriors are a more realistic opportunity.
The other big name that's being floated around is someone who's at the end of their contract and is going to be a restricted free agent is Miles Turner. For the Pacers, he is going to be up for grabs. The Suns are reportedly already looking into him. Yeah, they like their athletic big men.
He's going to be a huge pay. I'm really excited to see because Indiana still has a lot of money in their pocket.
Yeah, and I think Indy could pull a sign and trade with Durant and Turner possibly at the end of this run.
Gosh, that'd be so cool to see Kevin Durant in Indianapolis. He would hate it there. It's
something Phoenix wants to do. It's something Phoenix reportedly is looking into, depending on how Turner's contract situation comes post-finals. So there's a lot of speculation right now. Like nothing is going to really form, I think, for the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
Just because two of the names floated are still playing.
I think it'll happen in the next week because the draft is next week.
Yeah.
And picks are a big conversation. And there's a lot of good players in this draft.
No, this draft is stacked.
Let's get into Bust of the Week. Bust of the Week, mine is very simple. I'm just going to talk about the Knicks organization for a couple seconds. They have interviewed tried to interview 5 different NBA head coaches, and all the organizations have refused to let the Knicks hold those interviews. It's been very sad. It's been very embarrassing if you're a Knicks fan. Killing Tom Thibodeau only so you can bring in the ghost of maybe, the Bulls head coach. Very sad.
Yeah, I think it's especially because Thibodeau is beloved.
They tried to go get Jay Wright, who's the Villanova head coach, which kind of makes sense, but Jay Wright said it multiple times. He's not interested in coaching basketball anymore.
Yeah.
It feels like this Knicks situation is going to get uglier than it looks nicer. I'm really excited to see who they pick because it's going to be someone terrible. It might be like Luke Vogel or something.
I was going to say Doc Rivers.
No, Doc Rivers is in Milwaukee, nice and happy, locked in.
Yeah, but I'm just saying if they're trying to get desperate,
you trade Milwaukee, for Giannis and Doc Rivers.
Yeah, you get both. Coaches have been traded before. That is a thing. There's a precedent for it.
I will take back my bust of the week if they end up doing that. Don, who's your bust?
Mine, I'm going to kind of fold my bust and Hall of Famer in kind of side by side here.
That's
fine. Mine's going to be the Edmonton Oilers. Losing the Stanley Cup Final, not for losing the game. Like it clearly, you guys were missing Hyman. Like he was a big need for this roster.
They're missing McDavid too.
No, McDavid was there.
Was he?
He
played, but did he do anything?
8 points. 8 points over the series in 6 games.
I thought he had 1 point. I think he had 1 point in the entire series.
No, he had 7 assists
or
and 1 goal. One
goal,
goal, 7 assists.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But majority of the assists were him setting up the play and feeding an open man perfectly because everyone's staring at him.
I'm just saying.
I mean, he could do. I would like to see a little bit more offensive production. That is a big thing I was talking about with Heyman missing.
Yeah.
It was. You had 40-year-old Corey Perry sitting on the top line for this entire game.
Yeah.
That's not
Reinhart
something.
was doing pretty good too.
Reinhart on Florida was doing great. But Draisaitl disappearing, not taking a single shot on goal this entire game. That's what you need, something out of your number 2. You need some aggression. They didn't start taking a lot of chances and playing a lot of they were down 3-0, 4-0, and you guys were not taking any big risks, not swinging aggressively until 5 minutes left in the game.
It felt like Edmonton was gassed, and I felt this way but the second game. Or not the second game, the last game, where I was watching them and I was like, I don't know what it is, but Florida just has a little bit more juice in the tank. I don't know if they're deeper.
Florida is a lot deeper. Like the fact that you had Marchand, who's a top 40 scorer in the league this season, and he was on your third line. Like he's a 5th option for scoring on the entire staff is crazy.
It also feels like play style. Florida definitely gets really aggressive in the beginning of the periods, and then after about 12 minutes, really focuses on their defense and rests on whatever offensive attack they were able to put out in the beginning of a period.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Oilers kind of play very, very quickly the entire time. They're a very up-tempo team.
That is a lot more the West Coast style versus East Coast style.
And I think with the travel and with the just demand of this sport, because it was a long season, it was a long playoffs, and this is a long series that you had to play against.
Yeah,
I think it just cooked them emotionally and physically.
I mean, you did see a lot of beating and banging. One of the biggest worries that I saw in this game, at least early on, was you had the Corey Perry, McDavid, and Draisaitl line. Normally they split McDavid and Draisaitl as line 1, line 2. They only bring those 3 in when it's need a point or for the special teams. They ran them 3 every other shift for basically the first period and a half.
Yeah, they were really trying to get those points.
They were just gassed by the end. They were not rotating in the 4th line much throughout the entire first.
Because they allowed them to score so fast.
I don't even think it was allowed them to score. They were just missing a lot of depth there.
Yeah.
They were missing one of their top 3 players on the entire roster. And Florida's in the great circumstance where they were able to get Marchand for basically nothing from Boston. And you were able to, Bennett is going to be due for a contract this season. Marchand's now due for a contract at 35 years old, 36 years old. You were able to get the top performances out of these guys before they were due for a big deal in back-to-back years.
Who's your Hall of Famer of the week?
I have to give it to Sam Reinhart. I mean, It's got to feel good. Back-to-back chips, hitting a hattie in the game clinching, getting 4 goals, even though 2 were on empty net. But 4 goals.
5-1 is a big win.
Yeah, it's a huge win. Puts a staple on it. All the congrats to Reinhart. I know he didn't win the Calder. That went to Sam Bennett, which called it. But
he did.
Yeah. I literally told, I think it was 16-1 odds is when I said take Sam Bennett to win the Calder Cup or Calder Trophy. But yeah, Reinhart was the heart and blood. Barkov did not show up until this last final game. Reinhart was the leader in a lot of ways for this roster.
We've now gotten to see 13 of these Stanley Cup Florida versus Oiler games, and my takeaway from this is just because the Oilers have lost 2 Stanley Cups doesn't mean that they're really good teams. I think they win a Stanley Cup against almost any other combination of what they could have faced in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think the Florida Panthers are just built exactly the way to beat the Oilers, in a way that it gets mucky, in a way that it gets a little too ugly, but in a way that they're confident in that Panthers team is a really fun, good team.
I think that they have a unique mix of speed and just pure aggression on the ice, and it's the entire roster is built for the playoffs. And Paul Maurice, the head coach of Florida, has talked about it, where their entire game plan, their entire seasons, heading in, their entire roster composition is all built for the playoffs. Because the playoffs is a very different style of hockey than you see in the regular season.
Oh, yeah, it's way more physical. They swallow their whistles.
They just intense. Don't. Yeah, it's a very intense. It's a joke. By Game 7 of the Stanley Cup, you might be able to bring knives out into the ice.
Yeah.
And the refs will not call a thing. And so seeing that kind of play, Florida has intentionally built this entire roster just for that and said, well, as long as we get to playoffs, we'll dominate anybody.
How do you feel about the Oilers losing this? You were very much rooting for the Oilers, rooting for Canadian team, rooting for McDavid. Where do you stand now after this series?
To me, I think it gives we're in an interesting situation because I think Oilers can have a few more years of keeping this door open to continue to make playoff runs like this, just due to contract situations and keeping the core together. No big deals are going to be coming up. You're going to have to retool, obviously, and I think Wallman's due for a deal at the end of the season, end of the next season, I believe. But you're going to be able to retool there. I think Ottawa has a young, fun team that in the next 3 years they start competing very well. Montreal is kind of in the middle of a rebuild in a way.
Don't talk about Toronto.
Toronto's interesting to me.
You know Matthews is from California?
Yeah.
Born in California, raised in Arizona.
Yeah, and he plays in Toronto.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's kind of what you do a little bit.
Best American hockey player in the world.
No, I think that's still McDavid. Best American hockey player.
Yeah.
I want to, yeah. I'm not. I think maybe the Chucks could make a run for that.
Yeah.
Possibly, but I wouldn't be against. I think he's the best American goal scorer.
I love it.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
You got anything else on this series?
I think honestly, Florida's going to be in a very interesting situation post this series. Marchand's due for a contract. Bennett's due for a contract. Some of the big names are.
Who cares?
No, they won the back-to-back. They have it if they want.
They get 5 years of being awful, and they get to be like, dude, we went back-to-back.
Yeah.
It's literally as good as
I'm
it
just
gets.
more curious on where these guys go, because coming into this series, there's a lot of conversation of they might be able to re-sign Bennett for a favorable deal.
Yeah.
Keep him because it's a hard cap, so they keep him under the cap and do some interesting things with the financials to make it work.
Keep our eye on it.
Bennett winning the Stanley Cup Finals MVP, you're no longer getting him for $5.5 to $8
you're not getting
million.
a deal on it.
You're getting $10 to $13 million a year for him, right?
You think he resets the market?
I don't think he resets the market.
Is the market 12 a year?
$12 million over the course, I think, is kind of the high end.
Uh-huh.
I think he can go get 10.
Gotcha. I mean, he's a really good player. He's a really good player. My Hall of Famer of the week is there was a lot of options.
Sure.
Caitlin Clark, one of the best performances in
Didn't
WNBA
the Fever
history.
have a fist fight earlier today too?
Kamaru Usman, we're talking about fist fights. Kamaru Usman is also a really, really good fighter.
Yeah.
Won his first match since 2021. It was a really good story to see that. But I've been keeping my eye on a sports league.
Sure.
And it's time to give them a little bit of shine. It's the UFL. It's a good product.
Yes.
It's finally a good product. The DC Defenders won the championship last night. Their quarterback, Jason Teamu, led the league in passing touchdowns with 17 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, and didn't win the MVP because the guy who led in passing yards, who only had 9 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, won the league MVP.
Those are some decent ratios, though.
They ended up going against each other in the finals, where they ended up winning 58-34.
So defense does not exist.
Here's the thing. It does. They just scored 37 points in the first half. The other team with my bad. The Panthers scored back-to-back on their opening drives, the first drives. Mm-hmm. Teamu's just lighting it up, ended up throwing 5 touchdowns in this game, and kind of, won the championship, and then got to be like, hey, I won MVP. I should have been MVP of the league. And I'm even going out to the point of saying there should be teams trying to sign him, because I think he could be a good backup in the NFL.
One thing I have seen, and I really hope the NFL does take a serious look at this, is other leagues use minor leagues to test out a lot of rules, to test out a lot of techniques, and to kind of experiment and develop.
And grow the game.
The NFL does not have a minor league.
We do.
It's college, but I mean, there's college baseball for that purpose as well. There's college hockey.
There's nothing on the level of college football,
but I'm saying,
in terms of developmental leagues.
If you're able to take the UFL, expand it a little bit, add a few extra teams, you could use a lot of the practice squad guys for that purpose. You can kind of those undrafted, but they made the walk on, but they got cut with the 53-man cut down. Kind of use that talent pool in a better way, I think, in a lot. Like, if the NFL puts serious resources in it, I think it would be it would elevate the product for the UFL, but it would benefit the NFL for scouting reasons. It'll keep players walking on in better shape.
They'd have to increase the rosters. They'd have to increase cap. It'd be a lot of work. And then the NFL would be like, why? We have the perfect product already.
But it'd be something that teams, I think, would benefit. Like, imagine if Detroit had a minor league team at the end of last season.
They already get free minor league. Like, they don't pay for their college development. The colleges do that.
I think it would benefit them long term for developing guys who do a one-and-done deal in college, and with a lot of how college football may be restructuring, with a lot of how the portal and a lot of
kind of using like the OTA league, like basketball.
Exactly. Using it like not a direct minor league, but kind of a pool of players that don't fully make the NFL roster but are not going to go back to college, to kind of have where you have situations like the Lions where half their defense was disappeared and you're pulling 40-year-old guys off the street to come in. You have a better pool of players that are developed, that are in shape. A farm system, essentially.
That's what the practice squad's for.
But I think expanding that out, using the practice squad as UFL. I think
in a beautiful world, but you didn't watch any UFL games this year.
I didn't watch much.
No one watched UFL games
But having the NFL name on it, having some guys that you're like, oh yeah, like he couldn't make it in the league. But
right, like if someone told me this UFL game's actually being commentated by Patrick Mahomes and like George Kittle, more people would try to watch
exactly. Like, imagine, did you see the viewership spike of the Canadian Football League? Manziel was out of the NFL, started over there. Viewership went through the roof.
Also, Joe Kelly was there. That's quarterback Jesus. There's a lot of fun things in the Canadian.
Oh, there definitely is. I'm not trying to put disrespect on it, but I'm saying it works. And the NFL steals a lot of the techniques from those, like. The overhead camera was stolen from the XFL. Yeah. A lot of how they do new rule changes and kickoffs were stolen from the UFL.
That's the king, baby.
Having that development and you directly input into it would only benefit the NFL.
Yeah, but they get only benefits and they don't have to put anything into it. I get what you're saying, but it doesn't make sense for them business-wise.
It does when you're worried. How many times have the UFL or the AFL or the XFL collapsed?
Every single time.
Having that... It's going to be there, financial security, and it's even you don't have to put a lot into it, but just knowing that league will be there year in and year out for your development, I think would do wonders. Like, think about what the MLB did. They tested all their stuff in the minor leagues for years.
Yeah, and
now we have pitch clock. Now we have a lot, like the pitch ruling. We add the robo umps are being tested out there right now.
I see what you're trying to say, but I don't think it's feasible in the world of football. I think football is a more expensive sport to get going than any other sport. It has so much overhead and such high injury rate.
The injury rate is something to be
like, it's hard to get people to be like, hey, this is a product that doesn't make any money. Do you want to come here and do it for $2,000? No, I can't.
There's guys already showing up to do it.
They are, and then they get the injury bill and they're like, all right, I can't afford this.
I think I think it would benefit the NFL if they went for it.
I have a question of the day. It's kind of a doozy today, Don.
Sure.
We're doing a build a team right now.
Okay.
I've written 10 different combinations of players. You're going to build me a starting 5. All you have to do is pick a number between 1 and 10, and I will give you the player combos on that. It's positionless basketball. You are going to be building your team.
Sure.
Here's the catch. The player you do not pick, the other team will be getting that player.
Okay.
So you will be essentially building a team against yourself, or for yourself to go up against that other team.
Got it.
Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
On a 1 through 10, you get 5 picks. What's your first number?
Let's do 3.
3. So that's forward Andrew Wiggins versus guard Derek White. Who are you starting to build your roster? And you can put them wherever you want.
Yeah, but I would definitely go Derek White, I think. I don't know if Wiggins isn't bad, but I feel like there's better forwards.
Okay.
And White is just such a glue guy. I think having him as a 4th option on the offense would benefit a lot. And he has a lot of defensive versatility.
All right, so you're taking Derek White. Andrew Wiggins is on the other team. Don, give me another number. 3's off the board.
8.
8. That is Alex Caruso versus Austin Reeves. You got the white boy off. I knew you would do it. Don, Alex Caruso or Austin Reeves. Now you're going to get real guard heavy here.
I know. I don't like that. I'm going to take, I think, Caruso for the height. He could play a small forward.
He could play small forward.
Yeah. To stretch it a little bit. I don't think Reeves has the body to get in the paint.
Okay.
Like the same way Caruso does.
All right, Don, that's 8 and 3 are off the board. Give me another one.
5.
5. That is DeMar DeRozan and Jamal Murray. You're going against all the ones that have my big guys right now. It's kind of impressive. There's an even number across the board. DeMar DeRozan or Jamal Murray. Kind of getting yourself an ability to get a star here on this team.
Yeah, I would go Jamal Murray. Especially if we're not looking at the injury histories as much. DeRozan I like, but I think the way the roster's building at the moment, we're going to need a bigger anchor in the paint.
DeMar DeRozan, good small forward, power forward.
Yeah,
but you're now looking like you need a big body.
We need some bigger bodies, or we're just going to run a 3 deep ball. So I'm like, just in case I don't get that bigger body, I want guys who can shoot from the outside.
This next pick is going to have to be very important for you. What's the next number? You can't pick 3, 5, or 8.
Let's do 1.
1. That's the worst combination you could have picked. It's Andre Drummond or Malik Monk.
Drummond, I have to.
Okay.
I need a big anchor in the body.
And he's still one of the best rebounders in the league.
Exactly. Like if we're gonna just run Drummond, just absorb every offensive board and kick it out, I think that could work.
Right now, you have a team of
filthy.
Jamal Murray, Derek White at the 2, Alex Caruso at the 3, and Andre Drummond at your 5. Don, you've got one more shot.
I need a rebounder. I'm trying to think of what a team need would be is kind of the mid-range guy. You want a better scoring option than either Caruso or White. Let's roll the dice and say 6.
6. Don, that's the best one on the board.
Okay.
It is Anthony Davis or James Harden.
I mean, God, I hate this because I know in a very realistic sense. Like if we're looking at just like 2K ball.
Yeah, this is your team. You're going to go into an NBA season with this team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 2K ball, the easy answer would be Davis immediately.
Mm-hmm.
If we're walking into the NBA season,
Don, you're going to walk into an NBA season with 4.
With the roster composition, I have to say Davis.
Okay.
My heart wants Harden just because Davis's injuries. I don't think he survives the season, and I think it's just an
Maybe you get in
extra
the
hit I
playoffs.
don't need.
Don, your starting five is going to be Jamal Murray at the 1, Derek White at the 2, Alex Caruso at the 3, Anthony Davis at the 4,
Yeah.
and Andre Drummond at the 5.
I know it's going to make Davis happy. It does free up an interesting pick and roll situation between Drummond and Davis playing in the paint.
Not bad.
A little
And
bit
you got
more.
some good shooters with Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
He knows how to play, be a good 3. Like, it's not that bad of a team.
It's not the worst team in the world. I
Does
think we're
it-
missing one more like dead eye guy that White or Caruso need to be a 6-man.
Does it beat James Harden, Austin Reeves, Andrew Wiggins, Malik Monk? I don't know. Malik Monk is your big, so yeah, probably.
Probably
You got
like
the
AD
size.
and Drummond will just feast on him.
Yeah, I mean, they got all the guards in the world.
The only concern
And
is
DeMar DeRozan.
and DeMar DeRozan. DeRozan would have to play the 5, I would think, over Monk.
I
Just
mean,
DeRozan's a little bit longer, I think, in
it'd be
wingspan.
DeRozan and Wiggins playing like the 5 and the 4.
Yeah, I think
You'd win.
Yeah,
You're good.
but the only concern there is speed. Drummond is not getting up and down the court very fast. It'd be a lot of set half-court runs.
I had a lot of
bad
other
transitions.
center combos. I had like Michael Porter Jr., Miles Turner. I had Carl Anthony Edwards and Cade Cunningham. I had Naz Reid and Zach LaVine, and you kept going after the worst ones. I had Tyrese Maxey and Jimmy Butler on one of them, and you were just like, yeah, give me Andre Drummond and Malik Monk. So shout out to Donovan for question of the day.
I kind of want to run that team in 2K and see how they do against each other.
I'm way ahead of you already. That was the first thing I was doing. I was like,
Let's
I'm going
do
to
it.
get them all on one team. One more question for you of
Sure.
the day. I've been playing a lot more video games.
Okay.
And one thing me and my friends have been talking about is if you were to go pro in an esport,
Okay.
what do you think is your personal best shot? What video game gives you the best shot of going pro in esports for you?
For me,
I think mine would be like competitive speed running, like Mario games.
it would have to be either something along those lines
Yeah.
or I don't know if too many high-end
Tetris?
like skill like more strategy games.
Yeah.
Tetris is a lot on the reflexes as well, but that would work well. Definitely not a shooter. I cannot do CS:GO.
I feel like you'd be nasty at like a Street Fighter competition.
Street
like if
Fighter's a
you really
lot of
sat
fun.
down and like we were like, Don, you got no job. Your job is to get really good at Street Fighter. I think you'd get nasty with E Honda.
Yeah, no, I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
Honda was my number 2 typically, so I'm not mad at that. No, that'd be a very interesting one. Speaking of that, I know what was it? It's Marvel versus Street Fighter supposed to be coming out with a new 4-on-4 kind of build.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game coming out. So
Could be
I may
maybe.
just spend when it drops, spend a month grinding.
She got one of those like actual button joysticks.
Oh, those are so much
That's
better
so
on the
cool.
wrists.
So cool. Last thing we're going to talk about is the pick of the week. It's our pick of the week. Mine's going to be very simple. It's a game 6. It's very important. It's the Pacers Jumbo Wumbo money line. They're
Ooh.
plus money. I think this game is destined to go to game 7. It's in Indiana. They're going to be rowdy. They also have Tyrese Halliburton's dad in the stands, which pretty much means they're going to have to win or else he'll blow up the stadium. So, Pacers, Jumbo Wumbo money line.
Who's reffing the game? Do you know? Has it been announced yet?
I haven't seen any announcement for the rest.
Okay.
Let me look while
Yeah.
you do yours.
Mine, I'm also taking that game, but I'm taking a player prop on it. TJ McConnell, his line right now is currently set to 10.5 points at a -102. You could even come down to a 9.5 for a -150. Wouldn't be mad with either of those. I'm going to probably ladder bet the both of them.
It's
It's the series extender.
it's Scott Foster.
It's Scott Foster. Let's go to 7. Bet the refs.
Yeah.
But definitely, I like McConnell for 10.5 or even 9.5 if you want to take a little bit worse odds there. His playoff finals run has been 9 points, 11 points, 10 points, 8 points, then 18. He's been around that line pretty consistently, but we saw the spike at 18 points because Halliburton did go down with the calf strain.
Yeah,
he is still awaiting an MRI, but did come out with it wrapped for the second half.
He said, if I could walk, I'm going to play.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
He's going to play through it. I think they're going to limit minutes like they did when he actually got hurt. Even just coming with the strain, they're going to leave him for the fourth quarter.
TJ McConnell's been hot.
McConnell's been hot. He went his series high in minutes, series high in rebounds, series high in points with the limitation on Halliburton. I think we see a return to that, especially in the first half. It wouldn't surprise me if he gets at least 5 or 6 in the first half while Halliburton's resting the minutes that he can.
Your money on your player props in the NBA recently.
It's been nice. It's been a pretty good run so far.
It's been really good. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Bust Picks. Go check us out on YouTube. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It helps. Remember, my name is Dio. That is Don. And remember, pray for the parlay.